You remind me of my homeland during the Blight.
Hello and welcome back. In today's video, we'll be discovering the strange contents of the biggest slaughterfish in Oblivion. Plus, misplaced racism in Coral. And finally, can you beat Fathis Aren in a foot race to his tower, even though the wiki says it shouldn't be possible? And the annoying consequences of killing this NPC. To explore these questions and more, we must first begin the quest Arrow of Extrication, which naturally begins after Turning a Blind Eye has concluded, as we leave the Grey Fox in Bruma post a little independent thievery, and our quest updates. I've reached my goal and fenced over 700 gold worth of goods. When I'm in the cities, I'll have to keep an eye out for another messenger from the Grey Fox. He could call for me at any time. I should wait in the Imperial City if I want them to find me quickly. Travelling to the Imperial City, we cross its main bridge across Lake Rumer towards the waterfront and are suddenly intercepted by a familiar-sounding Argonian.
It's good to see you again. I have a message for you from the Grey Fox.
What is the message?
The Grey Fox has a task for you. Meet him at Melintus Ancus's house in Coral.
Wait, Amusei, you joined the Thieves Guild? Last time we saw you, you barely escaped the clutches of that demented vampire in Skingrad.
Yes, I did. After you saved me in Castle Skingrad, I vowed to join. I was having no luck on my own. Now I am running errands for the Grey Fox himself. I owe you much for your help.
We can then ask as he saunters off. Wait, are you at least happy running errands?
I am honored to be entrusted by the Grey Fox himself to run these errands. May Shadow hide you.
Happy that the hapless Argonian finally caught a break. Our quest then updates. Amusei sought me out and delivered a message from the Grey Fox. I am to meet him at the home of Melintus Ancus in Coral. He has another task for me. It seems Amusei has finally straightened up and joined the Thieves Guild. He's even trusted enough to deliver messages for the Grey Fox. Traversing the cobbled streets of Coral, we find in the southwestern nook of the city a lone Imperial by a well who urges,
"Don't keep the Grey Fox waiting."
What's that?
The Grey Fox is waiting for you.
Inside Melintus' small shack, we see a figure draped in shadow to our left. Lighting a torch, he welcomes.
Welcome. Let's talk. I have need of your services once more.
We can then unwisely state, I resent being summoned here, there, everywhere. Why not just get your messenger to tell me?
Whelp of a Shadowfoot. You had better learn respect if you want to advance in the Thieves Guild.
Otherwise, more wisely, I'm listening.
My work with Sevilla's stone has revealed that I need something special for my plans. It is a small item in the possession of a powerful court wizard. Will you do this for me? I will pay you well.
Taking time to prepare, he warns.
Then make your preparations. I will expect you to return soon.
And when we return, ready, we admit. Sounds lucrative. I'll do it.
Capital! Bring me the Arrow of Extrication. It has a key-shaped head. Braville's court wizard, Fathis Aren, recently acquired this unique item. You may kill Fathis if necessary, but not in the castle. My spy network will tell me when you have it. Return here with the arrow when you do. Now, we should get out of Melintus's house before we wear out our welcome. Shadow hide you.
While wearing out our welcome in the Ancus residence,
The Grey Fox protects you.
we contemplate the name of the wizard we're about to steal from. Fathis Aren. Fathis Aren. Why is that name familiar? We then cast our mind back to our run-in with the Dower Dunmer when working for Screever back in Braville.
If you'll excuse me, I don't have time for you right now, or ever. I'm Fathis Aren, Count Braville's staff wizard. I can teach you conjuration. Anything to relieve the tedium of castle patronage. Far be it from me to criticize my patron and sovereign, Bravil obviously flourishes under his wise and beneficent rule. Leave me alone.
Now, before we begin the quest, it's actually worth noting Ari Malintis Ancris. Townspeople of Coral are quick to spread slanderous rumours about the situation between Glistel the Dunmer, his roommate, living in sin with Malintis.
I don't understand what Glistel is doing with Malintis Ancris. I mean, have you seen her? And have you seen him? I just don't get it.
It is awful, her poor mother. What is Glistel thinking?
I don't see a problem with those two. It's a bit odd, but that's their business.
I can't believe that Glistel would live with that Malintis Ancris. Shameful. And her being such a lovely girl.
I don't see a problem with it. Perhaps they're in love.
Approaching the Dunmer, Glistel first, she'll greet.
What is it now? I'm Glistel. What do you need?
Oh, not much. Hadn't seen you and Malintis around Coral before.
My housemate Malintis Ancus and I are well known in certain circles here. But you don't travel in those circles, do you? Shadow hide you?
Of course, these circles she speaks of are most likely the local thieves in town. Congruently, Malintis greets.
I'm Malintis Ancris. How are you doing?
Good, thanks. Yourself? It's not every day you see a Dunmer and Imperial living together.
Glistel and me, we keep an eye on things here in Coral for certain interested parties, as a public service like. Shadow hide you.
The public service he speaks of is obviously being under the employ of the Grey Fox. Misguided rumours be damned, but it's an enjoyable part of Oblivion's rich gossip mill nonetheless. Back to the task at hand. We look in our journal to check our quest instructions, being, the Grey Fox will pay me 500 gold coins to steal the Arrow of Extrication. It was recently recovered by Bravil's court wizard, Fathis Aren. There will be no blood price for killing Fathis, so long as he doesn't die in the castle. I should start my search in Bravil. As night falls, we arrive at the broken-down bog of Bravil. Crossing the rickety rope bridge, we then locate behind the lonely suitor lodge the beggar, Cosmus the Cheat.
Have mercy. Just 1 coin. I'm saving up enough for some medicine.
Hello there, Cosmus. The Grey Fox has sent me to locate one Fathis Aren. I'm hoping you know where to best happen upon the cantankerous court wizard for a private conversation.
Everyone knows he's the court wizard, but I reckon you want to know more. Is it worth a few coins?
Not today. This comes from the Grey Fox himself.
Oh, that's too bad.
I'm sorry. Does 20 coins sound fair?
Fair enough. Fathis is also the wizard in the tower southeast of town. He keeps his most treasured items there, not in the castle. Only Fathis can open the door to the tower, but there is supposed to be a secret passage somewhere in the castle that leads him to his tower.
Before we leave, we can again select the same dialogue for a decidedly different read worth a listen.
What are friends for? Fathis is also the wizard in the tower outside of town. He keeps his most treasured items there, not in the castle. Only Fathis can open the door to the tower, but there is supposed to be a secret passage somewhere in the castle that takes him to his tower. Blessings of Mystara upon ye.
Our quest then updates. A beggar in Bravil told me that Fathis Aren has claimed the ruined tower southeast of the city for himself. The door to the tower is impenetrable, but rumour has it that Fathis uses a secret passage from inside the castle to get to it. Entering Castle Bravil to locate its court mage, we see the lone ruler of the swampy settlement and remember rumours we'd heard as the upper class may express their less than friendly opinions on Regulus and his son. For example,
It is fashionable to make fun of Bravil and Regulus Terentius. Personally, I think it is poor sport to mock the poor and disadvantaged.
With Regulus Terentius for a father, what do you expect from Gellius? The acorn never falls too far from the tree.
True to his reputation when we first meet him, he will rudely introduce himself with,
Regulus Terentius, Count Breville. Good of you to introduce yourself, stranger, but no point, really. I'm the Count, and you have no business talking to the Count, right? Good. All straightened out. Off with you, then.
Hello, my lord. It's fortuitous I found the Count, no less, as I'm looking for your court wizard.
Yes, Count of Breville. Are you a foreigner? Do yourself a favor. Learn the basics about the places you visit. There. Problem solved.
My apologies. Say, I'd heard that there was a powerful conjurer under your employ. A Fathis, Aren, he goes by, I believe.
He's the court wizard. He has a room in the north wing. Gloomy fellow. I've heard he consorts with Daedra. I'd steer clear of him if I were you. Farewell.
As a quick aside, when attempting to learn how Fathis managed to consort with Daedra openly, a dangerous undertaking in a city no less, and how everything in Oblivion's writing seems to be interconnected, especially in terms of macabre consequences for actions, it only takes talking to a few NPCs to make Breville's questionable leadership clear. Starting with the man behind Count Breville, literally, his Khajiit steward, who skulks in the shadows due to her duties and greeds.
Dronara, I'm Count Breville's steward. I'm sorry, but please, I have too much on my mind to talk. The Count is too preoccupied with his pastimes to spend time on county affairs, so the burden lies on me.
Addressing the rumor that the acorn doesn't fall far from the tree,
He's seeing you.
Seeking out the Count's son, Gellius Terentius, we find him living a licentious lifestyle down in the local skooma den.
Surely you must know who I am. The Count's son. Do you mind? I have no desire to be further acquainted with every visitor to Breville.
When asked of Breville, he will display he is truly the Count's son.
Yes, Breville. How clever of you. You've already learned the name of the town and county. I see a great future for you in public service. Leave me alone.
To add insult to injury, we meet Gellius's little skooma-sipping strumpet, Roxanne Bridget, who greets.
Yes? Hello, I'm Roxanne Bridget. I help the boys. They get a little squirrely sometimes, find it hard to cope. So I help out.
Well, it seems you're enjoying yourself in Breville, and the Count's son's company, no less.
Me? I got no problem with Breville. Lovely town. That little prince, the Count's boy, he's sweet with the sugar. Easy street all the way. Farewell.
Now, I have covered in great length the wider implications of how the illicit substance skooma is muled around Cyrodiil and its gang ties, which will be linked at the end of this video. However, finally, the effects of these findings can be discovered in other castle inhabitants, as blacksmith Hans Blacknail greets.
Hans Blacknail, Castle Smith. It's a comfortable post. Gives me plenty of time to offer services to the public.
And shares of his time in Breville.
I was with the Count when he was young, and a shining star on the tournament path. I only wish he'd straighten his son out. Just leave.
The reason this conclusion is so profound is the Count's apparent total apathy towards his duty and son, which causes an imminent Oblivion gate to be erected by none other than his once loyal and embittered blacksmith, who joins the ranks of the Mythic Dawn due to the state of his beloved city. Plus, a breakdown of all Mythic Dawn sleeper agents and their tragic stories is also linked at the end of this video. With my digressions for the video done, we have now set the tone for our dubious honour of hunting down the Count's Daedra summoning conjurer, who seems to be loosed on the city no less, in his private quarters. Heading up the stairs into the Lord's Manor North Wing, we quickly scamper to the first room to the left between guard patrols and our quest log updates. I found Fathis Aren's room in Castle Breville. Now, to locate the Arrow of Extrication. Inside the Major's sizable quarters, we find, luckily, the Dunmer has ducked out and begins searching, seeing a large bed separated from the living space by 2 sets of drawers. On the opposing side of the room, by an alchemical station and dining table, are 2 chests against the wall, both disappointingly empty. Frustrated, we note in our journal. I've searched both chests in Fathis Aren's room. Neither had the arrow of extrication. I'm beginning to think it isn't here. This room doesn't seem to have enough wizardly stuff for a wizard of Fathis' stature. I wonder if there's a secret chamber where he keeps his more valuable treasures. Becoming somewhat accustomed to secret chambers in these castles by now, we listen for the telling soft hiss of air escaping from the northern wall and pull the movable pillar arm to reveal a secret wooden door that leads to a wizard's grotto. Inside his grotto are quest updates. I didn't find the arrow of extrication in his room. I should explore this secret passage though. It would be very much like a wizard to hide his valuables in some dark hole filled with monsters. Creeping down into the narrow tunnel, we catch what appears to be Fathis. Getting closer, however, we realise it's a Tremora, allowed to roam unsupervised, and so close to the castle, killing the foul foe. We begin our descent down the dark serpentine tunnels until we find ourselves waist deep in water. However, we see a light at the bottom of the tunnel. Casting a spell of water breathing, we consider this is probably a fiendish place to hide an arrow and plumb the cave's murky depths, believing we've seen a flicker of light and perhaps something valuable below. However, as we find ourselves forced to wriggle through a small orifice to the bottom, we spy in the gloom a large creature that stirs at our intrusion. Swinging our sword through the waters, we catch the creature at inside, though it should be noted, on harder difficulties, attacking this toothy beast will result in a quick death. Instead, if we expertly slash its scaly hide from above, dodging its snapping maw, we pause to see we just killed the biggest slaughterfish we've ever seen. Inside the creature's mouth, we dig out a near perfectly preserved set of mixed chainmail armor, as well as a vest of warding imparting 8% shield on self. Also of note is what this fish ate recently, consisting of crab meat, dreg wax, presumably fish scales, human bones enough to fill a boat, including an oar and shovel to boot. Now here's an interesting factoid that is probably pertinent here, though it may not be. A stone's throw away we can find a trapdoor leading to the Nibben Bay, which if we swim to the surface we find we are near a strange door. Congruently, during the quest The Hunter's Run, linked at the end of this video, we found bodies were being transported via boat to the nearby Caldwell Chapel in Nibben Bay. Now I like to hope at one point this giant slaughterfish was loosed upon unsuspecting necromancers who were ferrying corpses and they lost more than their oars and shovels, but their lives as well. Whatever the case, somebody got eaten by this slaughterfish. Diving back down into the giant slaughterfish's lair, before we surface in the wizard's grotto, we find an alternate path just beneath the water. Following said path, we happen across a Dremora kinreeve. Attacking it via stealth before it can fully react, but not before we're scorched by its wicked burning blade, aptly named Purging Flame, which we, after it's felled, claim as our own. Atop a final set of stairs, we see 2 conjurers in the employ of Aren who taunt.
Showing your face was the last mistake you'll ever make. This is the part where you fall down and bleed to death! Die, cur!
Dispatching the first lackey with our new scorching sword, we press the female conjurer against the exit before she goes down in a satisfying huff, leaving us to enter Fathis Aren's tower proper. Inside, we find an open and crumbling tower and realise we must be in Fathis' inner sanctum with its nigh impenetrable door to the south. Spying an errant scamp on the second level, we loose an arrow before it can alert its master. Cautiously climbing the stairs, we see the summon was not alone, as a Flame Atronach sentry checks its comrade, too late to stop its own impending doom. To the northeast, we then find bones of Fathis' victims, bleached by the unrelenting sun, a grim reminder of Aren's impunity, equaling that of the most sordid of necromancers left unchecked. And as we search an eastern alcove for the reputed arrow, we ruminate that this is undoubtedly why the Grey Fox has no qualms about us putting down this crazed conjurer, or his ilk. Sleuthing up to the third penultimate level, we peer through the droplets of rain and see the outline of a being with its back turned. Knowing this is probably a trap, we head up to the top level for a better vantage point, to nearly stumble into a silent clan fear, the bony reptile shrieking during its descent to the depths below. Turning to what now appears to be Aren, and his personal Daedra assistant ambles out of his laboratory, and we snipe the rapacious reptile before its claws can find its intended mark. Now, with just a dark elf left between us and the arrow, we leap across the broken rooftop, attempting to break open a final chest in hopes it holds our prize. Disappointed, we creep our way into Fathis' makeshift laboratory as he studies whatever sinister concoction he's free to create without the prying eyes of his guildmates. Opening a container to the northeast, we find more alchemical supplies. Disappointed and empty-handed, we know the thunderstorm will only hide our intrusion for so long, and thus we tepidly reach behind his armor into his tunic and lift his personal keys instead, as the Dark Elf lunges with his dagger, and we spy the exact chest we need far too late.
Ha! No one steals from Fathis Aren!
Now in this fight, whether we want it or not, although we find to the advantage of the high ground, Aren continuously summons scamps to his aid and flings deadly bolts of energy, including destructive spells of disintegration that renders our first bow momentarily useless. Overwhelmed by the Myr's unrelenting assault, we move to the highest level and Fathis follows, slashing our midsection with a dagger. We see our own blood slakes his blade.
This ends here!
Retreating and wounded, we hide behind a pillar on the level below and realize Fathis believes himself victorious as he holds the high ground, and thus we await the perfect moment and let loose a final arrow that finds its mark true on the demented Dunmer's flank. With an audible crunch, Fathis Aren is no more, as he lies lifeless by his once prized Daedric debacle. We then find on the deceased Dunmer a lesser staff of ruin, boasting disintegrate weapon 25 points. This staff, the foul reason of her bow's destruction. Also, the ambassador's cuirass resisting normal weapons 9%. And finally, the keys to the tower, the underground lair, and presumably his lockbox. Now, prior to looting the fallen elf's lockbox, let's quickly explore some, in my opinion, fascinating alternate routes to complete this portion of the quest, as well as the repercussions for choosing to do so. Now, we can have Aren live, if we'd somehow forced him to flee from combat, and he would exclaim,
"Take what you will, just spare me!"
Likewise, it is possible to sneak past him. However, it takes an incredible amount of stealth/skill generally, and requires added invisibility or chameleon to get to the chest's contents. And if you're wondering, well, what happens after the quest if he's spared? Well, his aggression towards us still spikes if he sees us in Breville, and although he may stop to have a chat in his quarters. When asking about rumours, he has the gall to put down the Mages Guild RE necromantic practices.
I accept your surrender. Good day. I don't know what Archmage Traven has against necromancy, but the first thing he did after taking over the Mages Guild was to ban its practice. Goodbye.
However, when our back is turned, we start to believe perhaps he isn't as forgiving as he had led us to believe. Also of note, an unfortunate ramification of simply murdering Aren can be painfully stumbled upon. As if you're part of the Mages Guild before the quest, we can hear rumours in the guild in reverence of Fathis' skill in conjuration.
I understand that Fathis Aren is quite the conjurer.
I don't have any interest in learning about conjuration, but I hear he's very good.
Therefore, it is advisable to raise his disposition to maximum pre-quest, as he will generally yield to you when confronted and go about with his horrendous experiments as we loot him. However, if we show aggression, he may turn on us, forcing our hand to kill him. The real pity here is that this is one of the few times in Oblivion the guild business intersects, and we will promptly be ejected from the Mages Guild for killing one of their members, which, if it's ever happened to you, is incredibly annoying to pay the exorbitant price of re-entry. So now we've taken pains to enter the tower and show all the different ways to deal with Aren before we search for the arrow. The question remains, could you simply beat Fathis Aren to his tower altogether? Well, as stated by the beggars, the exterior is locked tight and requires a key which the wiki states Aren has on his person, but unfortunately for us, he doesn't have the key to the tower until the quest begins. Now, the wiki also posits he has a schedule to wander the roads after the quest's begun, but then it quickly contradicts itself, saying he has no wandering package. However, I have found a way around this seemingly impossible robbery conundrum. See, when we first received the quest from the Grey Fox in Coral, if we were to use the console command to teleport to Aren, he would simply stop his daily schedule in Breville, become hostile outside of the city, and stalk towards the tower, which means we have a potential window to intercept him. Or do we? Well, I put this to the test and learned quickly speed was the key. You have to bolt to his tower, attempt to avoid any angry wildlife, and I was lucky enough to find Aren thankfully tangling with a highwayman outside his keep. It's ironic there are a few highwaymen on the path there. No doubt thanks to the Count's never-ending mismanagement of his city. But here's the rub. Aren being hostile means we're forced to defend ourselves.
Yeah!
And if we murder Aren, our quest would update. I've killed someone while attempting to get the Arrow of Extrication. Murder is against the Thieves Guild code. I'll have to pay the blood price for it of 1,000 gold coins per person killed. I can pay Armand. Why? Well, the developers seem to have anticipated this trick, and even though we have the Grey Fox's blessing to kill Fathis outside of the castle, it's only after we had searched his quarters does the quest stage set to 26, which means he's free game. So we would then have the much more difficult task of having to stealthily intercept the malicious mage, pickpocket his tower key off Aren, and enter the tower via the front door. So what about the arrow? Back at his alchemical station, we're free to collect his wares. However, wasting no time, we look inside his chest and find a bronze necklace, key to his tower, various soul gems, and knickknacks, but most importantly, the key-shaped arrowhead, and we note in our journal, I found a key-shaped arrowhead, but not the whole arrow. This must be what the Grey Fox is looking for, or at least as close as I'm going to get. I should take it to him. Now, it also should be noted, after the related quest, Breville's citizens will start to say,
I heard that someone broke into the wizard's tower. What kind of a fool would take on Fathis Aren?
Did you hear what happened? Someone robbed the wizard's tower. Oh, Fathis Aren got what he deserved, if you ask me.
Returning to the Grey Fox in Coral, Ancris predictably greets.
Don't keep the Grey Fox waiting.
Inside the Imperial's house, the Grey Fox welcomes.
Welcome. Let's talk. I've been waiting.
About the Arrow of Extrication, I take it.
Do you have the Arrow of Extrication?
Not really.
Well, go get it.
You didn't let me finish. Not really, because I've only got the arrow's head. Now, is that a problem?
I'd hoped for the whole arrow, but that is not your fault. I will have to have it repaired. This arrowhead advances my plan to... well, never mind. I may have need of you again in the near future if my plans hold. Here is your reward. I am also promoting you to Master Thief in the Thieves Guild. Fathis Uls of the Imperial City will be your new fence. Shadow hide you.
Wondering what exactly the Grey Fox plans to do with the arrow, we're sure we'll find out soon enough.